we start.
Oh, I already pressed recorded.
Yeah, so before we start, is it okay that, and it's good if we get this on recording too, do we have everyone's permission to record this session so that we can send it to you later? And if we want to, if we can post like, teasers about it online, do we have your approval to use your likeness, your audio, your voice?
Works for me.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, Spanda, the class is now yours. Everyone, I'm going to hand you over to the wonderful and amazing and spiritually talented Spanda.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, here we are. Thank you for being part of this class. So I call this series Master Classes. My name is Spanda. I have been doing readings, spiritual messages, since I was 5 years old. So that was 50 years ago. And I started doing things full-time professionally in 1987. And so my third eye was always open. And my task was not having the third eye open all the time. And I eventually found, after many adventures, the volume, like how to turn up ability and turn down ability. So you can think about how your third eye, meaning when I say third eye, or sometimes inner eye, that is your ability to perceive other frequencies, other dimensions. So it doesn't just mean visual, even though people say third eye or psychic ability. It's mostly visual, but you might get audio as well. The third eye is really the conduit of perception. So it doesn't have to be just visual, though that's very important. It can be sound, it can be feeling, get sensation, or just a knowing. But it's being received through the inner eye. Now, my belief is that the inner eye is part of an equilateral triangle, so the distance from your eyes and then up in an equal triangle. So that's what I'm working with. So you're going to the inner or third eye. The spiritual vision is not the electromagnetic field of color and energy vibration of this world, but of a spiritual spectrum, maybe a spiritual electro spectrum. So, which is a spectrum of higher dimension. One person's work that I feel is very powerful for guidance with the inner eye or third eye is Emanuel Swedenborg. And so that's one person I recommend looking at their work. There's another person that I think wrote very powerfully, not about the third eye, but about the universe itself, but it pertains to experience and vision. It's Michael Talbot, and he wrote a book called Holographic Universe. Okay, so there's much lost knowledge. So our time, the people of our time, have to really go in and access your own inner library. So a lot has been lost. And also, most of the women have not been written about in the history books, including spiritual history books. So our current time, which is very male-centric, has lost a lot of the females. Now, if you look at Asia, specifically India, there's more women that you can find who had a certain level of mastery, and they are in history books of India and China and other parts of the world. You just have to dig a little bit. And we know about people like Joan of Arc, for example. who's much more than what history books say. So these people are, I'll just go a little bit further into that. Generally speaking, throughout history, the history of humanity, women tend to awaken or open more than men. And if you look at any spiritual organization, it has a lot of what I call women power. So about 80% of any spiritual organization, a new organization, an ancient organization, Eastern, Western, African, European, doesn't matter. It's mostly women power, because my personal belief about that is women have a spiritual organ, which is the organ that makes a baby. And so women are connected multidimensionally, even if they never have children, to the spirit world, much more than men. Not that men's part in the process of creation is also spiritual, but it's women are basically have a window to spirit inside their body through the womb. And so you already have this ability to bring in spiritual power in the way that men really, not that men don't reach high levels of love, consciousness, perception, and other things as well. It's just not as common. And you can see that in how it plays out in our culture. And these are my biases. We just call them responses. Okay, so I was a toddler, and I started seeing, hearing, feeling spirit, and then spirit started talking to me. And I spoke to spirit gave messages to people through me since I was 4, 5, 6, 7. And so I did that. I was a psychic channel. I was giving people messages. A lot of what I was experiencing, I was seeing things for people, about people, and messages. So you can also interact with me, because it's not just video, but you can ask me questions or help direct where we go in talking about the inner eye, if you want to, and share, how much your inner eye already has power or sense, or what do you want to do with it, anything.
So I'm happy to share real quick. I would say probably 7 years ago, just through life experiences, I started to have some element of that.
Yep.
And then I think after a couple of years went by not paying attention to it, by not, feeding that and just getting busy with life, it's gone away from me. And so that's part of really where I wanted to reconnect with that, during this time where we're all taking an element of a global pause. It's kind of my opportunity to reconnect with that, and why I signed up for this.
So what time frame is that? Like, what would you say was your peak of perception?
I would say there was probably about a year where I had that peak element of it, where, I think it was a combination of life experiences. I was very in tune with my meditation practice. I was reading very healthy amount, which I know is what heals me. I just have to actually do it. And so I would say there was probably a healthy year to maybe 2 years where I was really in touch with that.
And more or less, when was that?
It was 2000, I want to say 2012.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Wait, why does it make sense?
So the 2012 was considered, so first of all, there's an Aztec prophecy about 2012, and then a change from their calendar, end of the Aztec calendar, meaning their cosmology and their history, ends in 2012. So most of both Western and Eastern spiritual traditions have seen it as very significant as a time of transformation for the planet. But it's actually 2012 through 2024. In my opinion, it's not just like one year or another.
It's like the sun cycle, right?
Yeah.
We're at the top or lower polar or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
And so I want you both to please go back to about 4 years old in your imagination.
To 4 years old.
Yeah,
Okay.
please try to bring your consciousness for just a moment back to 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Between 4 and 5 is the time when our human nervous system can literally hold our consciousness. Before 4 years old, the distinct personality that you have now was not so concentrated. And it's not that it wasn't there, it's that the human nervous system and aura could not transmit like a radio your personality until the human mind and nervous system are sophisticated enough, about 5 years old. And this is when, in order to see, feel, hear, you have to be. So please work with 4. 4 is your inner child, and 4 is the conduit to the ultimate. 4 also is neurologically, it's stability. Just think about like 4 legs of a table, or the 4 corners of a window. So your 4-year-old is your access point to the infinite. And all your power is there because we're all wanting the infinite power of the child. Children can heal quickly, not just from physical, which they can very quickly, but they can heal emotionally very quickly. They can bounce back. They're very open. They can learn. You can learn 7 languages, toddler. Very hard to do once we're an adult. So we're really wanting to reclaim our inner child, to reclaim our power. And a lot of what makes us stuck is our adultness, our thoughts and feelings that block our infinite potential. When you're 4, we're in the world of imagination and everything is possible. It's really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So the world of imagination, where we can imagine flying and going to other universes and all the things that little children take for granted, it's much harder when we become adults, not so much because of ourselves, but because of our resonant frequency with other adults who almost certainly have shut off their inner child. And the average person's feeling is less is possible. I can't do that, or it's too hard, or I'm too distracted, or people will think I'm weird, or whatever. Even your joy is less possible. People will say, "Who do you think you are?" Or why are you so happy? Or why do you think you're gonna succeed in your project? So there's so much of a pulling down of vibration by mass consciousness. And you can see it in how they walk, how they talk, their body language. Just go to the grocery store, go to the gas station, go to the post office. What do they feel like? What do they look like? Do they look joyful?
Yeah.
Are they smiling? Are they happy? Are they vibrant? Are they giving you with their, even if they have a mask on, are they giving you with their eyes, with their expression, with their energy, some warmth, some joy, some feeling, some blessing? So if you look at the average person and how they're showing up, or more to the point, not showing up, this is their vibration. I guarantee you, if you met these people when they were a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, you would see vibrancy. A child is glowing. Their eyes are scintillating. They're a super being. You are a super being in your inner child. Think about, if you have a photo of yourself as a little child, isn't there power there? It's inner, the child is a miracle. Well, that's inside you. That beauty is inside you every day. And we're walking around like, oh, this is just another day. I'm just going to the grocery store. I just have to go to the post office. Like, blah. Well, a miracle is happening. A miracle is inside you. You are a miracle. So something wonderful is happening in every moment. So this is the vibration. This is the energy, which is lacking in modern culture, which is called awe. Awe is, wow, look at that sunrise. Awe is, oh, isn't that bird beautiful? Awe is, oh, look at the ocean. Awe is, oh, look at those trees, how lovely, and the flowers. The ability to have awe is like food for your soul. Being able to have wonder. So if you just look in the space that you have right now, you don't have to be anywhere that you think is special. Just look at what is possible in the space you're in. Just look around you. You might say, oh, this is nothing. Where I am is, it's okay, whatever. Or you might just take it for granted. But there is beauty 2 feet away from you. It is possible to see everything around you as beautiful. It is possible to see your hands. Just look at your hands. Your hands are a miracle. The lines on your hand are a message. All of the materials around you, glass, even plastic, everything around you is wonderful if you choose to see it that way. So if you can today, for this moment, enter into a sense of wonder about, oh, isn't this lovely? There's a table here, there's a window, there's trees outside, there's a bird. And even the things that people invent, like an airplane, oh, there's an airplane, whatever. Your ability to have joy with the things people don't care about. Just the simple moment, oh, there's carpet, oh, that's nice, is going to help you to open to more. You can't get from nothing matters, or I don't matter, or those people at the grocery store don't matter, and certainly they feel they don't matter. You can tell how people feel about themselves if you really pay attention, and opening the third eye is paying attention. What is the person's energy that you're walking past in the grocery store? Are they having a special moment? Is it a cool thing to be in the grocery store? Are they having fun? Are they bored? Is there the sense that this moment doesn't matter? What if people go to the DMV? Is that fun? If you have to go to the Department of Motor Vehicles, are you having joy? Can you bring joy into the moment? When I go into the Department of Motor Vehicles, it's an opportunity to bless many people. I'm going to get to talk to this person that works behind the counter. There's a security guard. There's an old lady sitting with her niece. The niece is getting her driver's license for the first time. And I'm able to be a blessing in that opportunity. So for me to go into DMV is like the best temple on the planet, or the best sunrise, or the best anything. So everything is amazing. Everything's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And the sense of awe to be in the world of delight, beauty, joy, and bliss is going to start to open your inner eye. The inner eye is not, I'm here and I don't want to be here. I don't want to be at the DMV, or I don't want to be at the gas station. And it's not always easy. For example, one of my students said she was catcalled 4 times at the gas station.
Oh.
As she drove up, as she's walking out of the car, by the attendant, and then somebody on the way back to her car in about 50 seconds. Now, she's very pretty, but that's besides the point. The point is she's being bombarded with this energy. So it's even harder, right? Like, well, I don't want to, maybe I want to make myself invisible in this moment, which is possible. You can actually do that. But this comes from awakening to your divine inheritance, which are your powers. We've been taught that we're powerless, but that's not true. You have the same powers as before you were born. And if you want to know about before you were born, ask a toddler, ask a 3-year-old, ask a 4-year-old. What about before you were born? They'll tell you everything you need. They're the experts. They were just there. I can't tell you because it's been too long.
Yeah.
I'm 55. The older you are, the less people should talk about the other world. If you want to know the real deal, ask as little a kid as possible. They can barely talk. They're going to tell you something amazing about before you're born, something miraculous. But you can reclaim your power. You can reclaim how amazing you are through the practice of understanding the miracle of who you are in the moment. If you can get in touch with the miracle of the moment, you will reclaim your powers. You can become younger, not that you want to become younger, but as you get older, it's more important. You can rejuvenate yourself. You can heal. You can rebound from grief. You can access everything that you are and the whole toolkit of who you are. But first of all, it starts with identity. So you have to, first of all, start with there is an inner eye. And you practice seeing. There's a person who had no depth perception. He was born without depth perception. So he would fall, like just walking off the curb. He couldn't even have that sense of how far anything is. He was literally seeing like 2D. He went to a 3D movie with the goggles. And the fact that his brain was being tricked by the 3D, it made him able to see 3D. And after going to the movie, he was able to see what we see, depth perception. So sometimes we have to open to, I can see. So first of all, please accept my challenge to begin to practice, I can see more. Not first you're going to say, I don't see anything, but just keep telling yourself. For example, there's a certain practice where if you want to find something, you tell yourself, I found it already, even if you haven't done it. For example, I was losing my glasses all the time. And there's this technique called neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. And part of it is, there's a lot to it, but part of it is suggestions, because it comes from the hypnotherapeutic community. And so you say, I can see where my glasses are. And your mind doesn't know the difference between truth and false. The deeper mind, not the surface ego. So as soon as you tell your mind, oh, I found my glasses, they're here, awesome. Your mind goes to, okay, then they're right here, right? And then immediately, oh, I left the glasses in the car, or oh, they're on the kitchen table. Now, you know very well if people are convinced that they don't know where their glasses are, they could spend 2 hours looking. Haven't you heard somebody say, oh, I looked and looked and looked for something, keys, or they lost the ring? Well, days could go on. But if you tell yourself, I know where this object is, your brain can then focus. All of a sudden, because we don't forget anything, actually, it's not necessarily available to your consciousness, but it's all in there. Then you know very well where you set your glasses down. You set them down. Now, if somebody picks up your glasses, I'm not going to say who. A romantic partner picks up your glasses and moves them to the next room. Hey, why'd you move my glasses? Oh, I can't find them. Oh, well, you put them in the wrong place. But if you set your keys down, you were there, right? You know where you set your keys down. So you just have to access that part of you that did that. But first of all, you have to believe you can. If you don't believe you can do something, you're done. Why bother? If you don't believe you can win, why would you try? So belief is so important for the way the human brain works. And the brain has consciousness, and the consciousness is your perception of what's happening. It's actually not what's happening, but it's your perception of what's happening. So you begin to say, I can see more. I can feel more. I can hear more. There's more going on here. Maybe you'll see a ghost. You'll see an alien. You'll see spirits. But you're going to see more. You're going to know more. Oh, that person's lying. Oh, that person's telling the truth. Oh, my neighbor's going to move, and then a month later they move. Things will start to be revealed to you through your welcoming of the truth that you can see more. I'm been psychic. I've been practicing my psychicness longer than almost anybody on the planet, because I've been doing it for years. But that's the only unique part of what I'm doing. I'm not more psychic than anybody. But I because I was born that way and was giving people messages by the time I was 5, I've lived in that world where I can do this. And as we know in sports psychology, believing you can do something is crucial. It's part of the way the human mind works. So please practice on a regular basis. What's going on here? And it actually is better to do it in the most boring moment. So when you go to the gas station or when you're at the train or something, in those moments that, well, this doesn't really matter that much. It's just a train station. Opening your third eye and checking out the scene in those spaces is actually more powerful. The angels tell me no one gets extra credit for having a profound moment in the church or temple. Even a sociopath. You're in a beautiful space. Even the worst person can have a nice moment in a beautiful space or a natural space. Even the worst person can enjoy a rainbow. But only someone who can tap into their own inner beauty and openness can have a really nice moment in the most boring situation. So the exercise, the kind of weightlifting in a way, is practice in those moments we generally throw away, like at the grocery store. I use the train myself, so I practice at the train station. Now, I'm not saying look at all of life's less appealing things, because there's lots of unappealing things in life, and you may see something you don't want to see. But by all means, you can look at a fence, you can look at somebody walking past, the brick. It is possible to become so sensitive. You can feel the brick. Who laid the brick? What were they thinking that day? What was going on? What year was the brick laid? What's the energy? Because everything has everything you touch is imprinted with your energy. That's my belief. So eventually you could get an explosion of energy and information about every object, every person, every situation. And as a matter of fact, I was seeing everything and was therefore in a way kind of blinded by an overwhelming amount of data. And it took me years to use a Pavlovian response to lower the volume so I wasn't overwhelmed. So I would say a certain word and think of a certain color when I wasn't getting a lot of data. And then when I was feeling overwhelmed, I would say that word and visualize that color. And over time, it helped me to lower the volume. Because we don't just want to open, you wouldn't be able to open. If you saw everything, you'd have to move to the mountains or an island and get away from everyone. Do you know anyone that says they're having a hard time going to school or work because they feel overwhelmed or they don't like being in a crowd? And sometimes these people don't realize that they're receiving too much. So too little is a problem, but too much is as well. And one thing to do is to not feel emotionally overwhelmed. So, okay, I'm feeling a lot right now, but breathe and simply be aware, like be a good friend to yourself in the moment. So part of that's acknowledgement, like, yes, I am feeling overwhelmed right now. Yeah, I feel like there's too much going on. Okay, yes. Because what do people want? People want to be witnessed. People want to feel like they're heard. So your mind is saying, I feel too much. So, okay, yes, this is too much. And then breathe. Yes. And you can also ask for outside power. You have your own inside power, but outside power is a spirit guide or some being that you revere. Anyone that can help you that's other dimensional is connected to you through the sense of awe. That could be Mother Mary or Morgan or Confucius or whoever you're into.
Mhm.
And so, or you can just say my angels or whatever works for you. But awe is, again, a conduit. So, I feel like there's support. Like we feel like when we're a little baby and we're being hopefully supported by our parents. So you will find your own control. I want to see more, less, through association. So you can associate a word, a color, a sound, even a fragrance with, okay, now I'm pulling in and I'm not seeing so much. And you can activate through this word means I see more, this color means I see more, this fragrance means I see more, and the mind will use association. And you begin to have volume control is absolutely crucial. You can't just say, open the third eye. So there's some discipline required. And if you're willing to work on adjusting the amount of energy you're experiencing, then you can open your third eye or inner eye to many, many, many times more than the average person. And so it's also an attitude. Imagine receiving a gift. So if someone's running around the room, how do you give them a gift? So we have to get into a quiet moment. If the person's not paying attention, how do you, what do you do? Hey, I'm trying to give you a gift. I mean, the moment of gift giving is about presence. That's a pun. So what's happening when it's an ideal gift moment? You're witnessing each other. It's not a bunch of distraction and the person's barely paying attention. There's a moment, like we're having a beautiful moment together and I'm giving you this gift. I'm not distracted. I'm not wishing I was somewhere else. I'm completely in the moment. And that's part of what the symbol of the gift means, that we are being present with each other. And then you have to open, right? You have to open your hands. Okay, I'm gonna give you the package now. Okay. Then you open your hands and you take the package. And then what happens next? You open the, there's a ribbon or there's paper, then you have to open. There's a process of opening. So this is the same way with the inner eye. First of all, you have to show up. I'm here, I'm ready. Next, I'm completely committed to this moment. I'm not distracted. I'm emotionally, mentally available. I'm here. Then I'm in the process of receiving, come on in. And that could also be audio, it could also be a feeling. And there's some process of opening. You can imagine your inner eye. You can imagine it opening. But please don't limit yourself just to visuals. I would say 80% of people see more than anything else. But there are people that hear more. There's people that feel more. That's okay.
Is there an association? I know that the majority of the planet are visual learners, but then you also have the kinesthetic learners and you've got the audible learners. Is there that association?
There is, in the sense of processing that you do.
Okay, that makes sense.
So there could be, that's an excellent question. It could be synesthesia, where you're getting sound, you're hearing color, or feeling light or something. So synesthesia is actually very common, and it's mostly how we perceive intuition, because you're getting something, your brain has to turn it into looks like this, sounds like this. when it's coming from not sound, or it's not coming from our electromagnetic fields. So your brain has to turn it into sound, light, feeling. I know someone that it is absolutely impossible to lie to this person. When someone says a lie, her left knee tingles, and you cannot lie to this person. And I've seen it, and other people have seen it over and over and over and over. And there's lots of bizarre, wild stories like that, because in my many decades in the psychic world, of people with extraordinary abilities. Now,
I think,
mind you, yeah,
I think that's the one that I want. I want my knee to
it's possible,
tingle.
except that you may know more than you want to know. But assuming you can turn the volume up and down, it's actually completely unnecessary to use the paranormal for the truth, because the average person is not in awe with themselves. They don't think they're cool, or they don't think they're special. I don't mean in the sociopathic, like, look at how cool I am. It's that the average person doesn't believe they're a miracle. And so because they're not doing anything special in the moment, being themselves is not particularly special, and that's how they're acting. The average person acts like a leaf blown on the winds of fate beyond their control. That's basically the essence of the way they're showing up in the world. And because that's their attitude, that's their beliefs, that's actually their religion, then they are just showing everything in their facial expression, in their body language, and in every moment. It's completely unnecessary to use psychicness for as a lie detector, because people are saying an ocean of information with every movement of their foot and their shoulders. And if you can learn that, you'll know more than you want to know. And it's very easy. And I've spent my whole life paying attention to people, because what am I doing? I'm communicating with people. I've been doing that for 50 years. So I've gotten, over these decades, what people do with their shoulders and their eyes, and what do they do with their mouth, and all of this stuff, and how people walk, how they move. So we're actually, if you knew how much you were telling other people, you would just be like, oh my God, what did I just say? And they're telling you everything. And the world's best poker player is still giving away an ocean of data. They're good, but if they were that good, they wouldn't need to have glasses. So be careful what you ask for. You may get
Out of curiosity, and I don't want to speak for you, Ash, but is there anything that through us that you've seen or picked up on that we might not be aware of?
I have.
What do you mean? Oh, hold on, my phone's about to die. I haven't noticed. I've just been listening mostly. I have to like doodle while I listen.
Yeah.
To like help retain the information.
Yeah.
So I haven't really been looking as much.
I have.
I'm also a very antsy person because I have like ADHD. So I'm always kind of like squirming around.
I definitely am getting a lot of information, and but that's my default. That's my reality. I was born receiving a lot of energy and information from people, past lives, their spirit guides, and their ancestors and their grandparents, blah blah blah. So there's this too much. There's too much, and that's not me trying. That's not me being sneaky. It's just it's pouring out of the aura.
And there's no disconnect now that you're on Zoom versus being in person with people. It's still the exact same element. Okay.
It's because of sacred geometry.
Will you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So each of you are a very specific sacred geometric pattern energy, which is showing up as your shoulders, your hair, your eyebrows, your nose. So everything in the physical universe is ruled by very specific proportions and what's called Fibonacci numbers. So in the Renaissance, this idea of sacred geometry was coined because it's basically God's numbers. So the universe isn't made up of a whole bunch of weird random numbers with no sense or pattern. Everything's made with a recipe. So a butterfly's wings and a seashell and everything, your bones, everything is made with a specific ratio, specific numbers, proportions, that kind of thing. So that's called sacred geometry. So because you have sacred geometry by virtue of being a human being, you actually, the reason that you could even have consciousness at all is because of your sacred geometry. So if you were an android and the android wasn't made with sacred geometry, you couldn't hold consciousness. Sacred geometry is the architecture that's necessary for holding consciousness. That's why sacred geometry was used in cathedrals, because you need certain frequencies based on certain number of vibrations in order to hold energy. So those spaces can hold light. Not to get too far off the subject. So because you have sacred geometry, you're able to hold not only your aura is just in this universe. When people say aura is not soul. Aura is the energy in your body. But you're so much more than your body. You're a wonderful spark of the divine. So I'm getting all this energy and information that is, my belief is it's holographically embedded in your secret geometry. So if you look at people, just look at their skin tone, look at, the texture of their skin, their nose, their eyebrows. And if you just say like, okay, I'm receiving through their sacred geometry everything that's possible, then just, they'd have to put a wall up for you not to get information, because it's resonance. So for example, a guitar sounds great because of the way it's designed. If the guitar didn't have that shape and was made out of those materials, it wouldn't sound good. So the fact that you are made up of the shape and materials that you are allows those frequencies to come through. The only way those frequencies wouldn't come out is if we, put you inside a box or something. So for example, if the guitar is inside a soundproof room, then you're not going to be able to hear it because there's all this damping. And that's without any activity. Assuming you could quiet your mind, very advanced things to do, but assuming you could even quiet your mind, you're still, just by virtue of birth, saying things about your grandparents, ancestors, spirit guides, and so much with, even if you had no mental activity at all, you could actually stop your brain. Your sacred geometry is giving an encyclopedia of stuff. So all of this is possible. And it's also intention. So if you say I'm going to win the race, your chances of winning are much higher than if you say I'm going to lose. Because if you convince yourself you're going to lose, you're going to trip or you're going to figure out how to lose. If you say I'm going to win, that's 80% of this situation.
So can we go back to one thing that you mentioned before, though? You had talked about even if there was no brain activity, that there's still the sacred geometry of what you're able to pick up on. When does that change? Is it at death? Like when it, so it continues on even beyond death, the sacred geometry?
Once the body starts, once the body starts decomposition, the sacred geometry is lost. Not mental activity. You could have no brain activity and your spirit could have left the body. But as long as you're still intact. So if we could freeze the person, you could still get a lot. If you could stop decomposition. And there's people, I have a friend who's into that cryogenics thing, and he already has paid for his body to be frozen. And so he's going to be giving off a lot of data because his geometry is not going to be decomposed after that. Likewise, as you start to form in your mother's womb, you're already saying about your grandparents, about the spirit guides of you and your family, not the same thing. There's spirit guides for family, there's spirit guides for you, et cetera, et cetera. So these are all things, and you don't need me to tell you about any of that, because as you open your inner eye, you're going to tell yourself, you know, what is the spiritual landscape, because you're going to see for yourself what you want to see and what you can see. However, it is modulated by your dimensional level, and the dimensions are levels of love. So the higher dimension you are, the higher your dimension of love is. When people say like spiritual progress, it's people make things unnecessarily complicated. Or I think religions do that so that you have to join in because we're going to teach our language, which is fine, nothing wrong with that. Because there's intention, spirit guide, spirit group intentions, and they have their own languages, their own codes, so that's fine. But to say it in a way that's not about any particular group, it's just levels of love. So the higher your level of love is, the higher your dimensional level, the higher your spiritual level is, and then you can see more, do more, feel more, which is modulated by intention. So in other words, do more. Why? Why do I want information? For example, if someone says, I want to, I'll give you, not to do an abstract, I'll give you a real world example. And this is going to affect your inner eye ability, is why. So when I was about 30, even though I'm an extremely, extremely rare psychic savant, my consciousness, my overall spiritual evolution or consciousness wasn't that high. So for example, I had no clue who I was as a toddler, even though I was talking to spirits. Whereas Yogananda knew who he was as a little boy. He knew he was Yogananda, meaning he knew he's here to do this, and he did things, psychic things and spiritual things as a little boy, because he knew who he was, why he was doing it, what am I going to do? So he had total consciousness from very small. I had no clue because I wasn't that level. I had very, very, very high capacity, but I didn't know who has this capacity? Who am I? Why am I? What am I going to do? I was clueless. And so that also modulates who is receiving. And then what is your intention? So my intention was low because I really had no clue. What am I doing here? Who am I being and why? The why isn't there. So my motivation as a 30-year-old was essentially, how can I cash in on this? I had a very high capacity, like a musical savant or an athletic savant or anything like that. And then people say, how can I use this, right? Can I become a famous singer? Can I become an athlete? Can I become a mathematician? Whatever your level of excellence is, how can I use it? And my consciousness was relatively low. So I was just thinking, maybe I could be a famous psychic guy or, get my own TV show or something. So my motivations were not very high. Later on, I realized there's more going on here, and I upgraded and increased my why. So also, as you increase your why, your ability to see, feel, hear psychically, and also do something with it will increase. Not only will you be able to see more, your intention level will give you access to higher dimensions. So if, let's say you're selfish, or let's say, you just want to use the ability, which is called spiritual materialism. So spiritual materialism is I'm going to use this ability like a rock to like smash my way into the next situation instead of a key. I'm going to use it to hurt people. I'm going to use it to just to cash in or just to show how cool I am or whatever. So the spirits, based on law of resonance, the spirits that talk to people that like to hurt other people are fairly low. So you could completely open your inner eye, but if your intention level is low, you're only going to talk to ghosts. So it's modulated by your intention. If your intention is to help others, to be the best person you can be, to contribute positively to this planet, you're going to talk to higher spirits. However, things get harder in two very important ways. Now, mind you, this is being recorded, and I realize I'm just throwing out a zillion things, but it's being recorded, and you'll be able to look at it again.
Yeah.
This process is modulated by your intention to be more of service. So you're going to be resonating with higher beings, as well as what I call the process of subtraction. So your ability to see or feel or hear psychic information is mostly determined by what's in the way, not what you need to do or improve. So in other words, you don't need to turn the volume up. You need to make the space more acoustically perfect. So that's a process of subtraction. And there's three things that we have to not gain, because most human attitude is about, I need to be smarter, I need to be thinner, I need to be better looking, I need to have more, better luck, I need to be taller. It's always more. That's the human mind tends to go toward more. But spiritual evolution is generally about less. So the three things that are in the way of our seeing clearly are anger, fear, and limiting beliefs. And it's about time. So we're inside time. And time, the movement of time, is a barrier to the infinite. It doesn't allow you to see more. And that more is timeless. Spirit world doesn't have time. As you go higher and higher, it has less and less time. So anger, fear, and limiting beliefs are the three things that make people suffer, and they're embedded in time. You can't be angry about something that hasn't happened yet. Well, I'm really angry about that thing that's happening in 2024. So our emotions are embedded in time. So we're afraid of the future. We're angry about the past. And we have limiting thinking about the present moment. So they exist in those three spaces. You can't move them. You can't have limited, well, you can have limited beliefs about the future to some degree, but it's mostly housed in, like, in this moment, I think life's hard, or, our limiting, the things that we say that limit us, or the average person's, I don't matter. That's a big limiting belief. And it makes them, you can't do anything from there. If you don't matter, nothing's possible. So the person lives a life of mediocrity. I'm from New Jersey, so we don't say things particularly gently. Pardon me for that. So fear is about the future. It's a projection of your energy into the thought that the future is going to be less than ideal. Anger is about dissatisfaction about the past. So as you wash away, as you remove anger, fear, and limiting beliefs, I call it polishing the mirror or polishing the window. You're going to get clearer and clearer, not by some improving thing you have to do. But in my belief system, you already are wonderful. we're already part of that spark of the divine. We already have that energy of awe. We already have that sacred geometry. So you don't need more. In my belief system, you don't need to find the key, or I need to grow more or prove myself more. I don't think it's about more. I think it's about less anger, less fear, less limiting beliefs. And the limiting beliefs is included in about you. Less like I can't do that, or that's too hard, or that's not going to happen for me. And so as you remove anger, limiting beliefs, and fear, it's like I call it the diamond in the window. So a person can see the diamond, but the window's dirty. It's not going to look very good. And then somebody comes along and cleans the store window, and others, oh, the diamond got so pretty. Well, of course, the diamond didn't change. It's just somebody came and cleaned the window of the store or the jewelry store. So that removing of anger, fear, and limiting beliefs is clearing off the gunk that's in the way of your being able to access all your powers, which are waiting for you. And I don't believe that we gain powers or increase or grow so much as clear. Now, of course, you can learn more, like you can learn how to use your power. That's a technique. Okay, how do I learn how to turn my sacredness on and off? How do I adjust the volume? How do I switch from talking to spirit guides to checking out what's going on in this room? Those are techniques that grow in. And one thing that is crucial is discernment, and that you grow in. That's about linear time. So it's better to have a very, very high level of discernment than psychics. The best psychic in the world with very little discernment is dangerous. That's like having a lot of dynamite but not knowing how to deal with it. So there's lots of psychics that are powerful, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is interpretation. So there are people that can tell you your grandmother's name. Your great-grandparent was born here. The lost ring is there. Blah, blah, blah. And you're going to be impressed. Oh my God, they know where the lost ring is, and they know my grandmother's name. So many people will pay a lot of attention, give a lot of money to that person, and be very impressed. Well, they told me my grandma's name, so they must be the real deal. Okay, so they're very psychic. But their interpretation could be garbage. Their ability to interpret that information could be horrific. I know one particular, I'm not going to say their name because I don't want to get into a big internet battle. But I know somebody who can tell people, your grandma's name's this, and the lost ring is in the second drawer, and they suck. Their interpretation is terrible because they haven't evolved themselves, and they're giving people bad advice. And they're charging, like $600 to give people bad advice. So it's very, very important for you to increase your motivation. Like, why am I doing this? So you're resonating with the higher universes and higher spirit guides. And then as you increase your intention, in discernment comes. Okay, they're showing me blue. Why are the spirit guides showing me blue? What does it mean? It doesn't mean, oh, you're supposed to bet on the baseball team that has blue. It means something else. So can you see the difference? They're showing me the number 9. Oh, I'm supposed to bet that person is going to get drafted into that team because they're the number 9, maybe. Or maybe it's something about your family, maybe it's something else. So a lot of this is vibration through magnetism. So you're going to attract what you need to, but you can increase the quality of what you attract through increasing even if you did nothing else, if you just appreciated the miracle of who you are, like, oh, I'm a human being, or you may be a human being, you could be an alien having a human lifetime. You could be something else. But anyway, you're a being and you exist. Even just existence is cool. I exist and I'm in a physical body and I have 5 fingers. This is cool. So then what are we going to do? And just having that sense of wonder like a child does about yourself. And just that is very clearing. So it's when you're opening your third eye, who's opening their third eye? So just imagine somebody thinks they're worthless, right? Unfortunately, rather common on the planet Earth. So somebody worthless is opening their third eye. What's that going to cause? It's going to cause a lot of problems. Somebody that cares about themselves, somebody that's dedicated to living a healthy life. So first of all, who is opening their inner eye? So this is the part where it's like, oh man, I have to improve myself. So most people just do psychic class, and it's not about like, oh, by the way, this person's themselves with alcohol. So in the 80s, there wasn't the same level of discernment. When we were taking classes or teaching classes in the 80s, first of all, we were smoking. We went on to Denny's afterward. Everything was filled with, chemicals, and there was no raw food yet. So we've grown a lot. Now we know, oh, my inner capacity or my inner eye is affected by what I eat, what I drink, what lifestyle I live. We were innocent and ignorant in the 80s, relatively. But people have grown a lot. So now after a psychic class, we don't all run outside and smoke or, go get, McDonald's. We were very innocent. Now we know better. So it's also, how am I treating my body?
Mm-hmm.
What is my consciousness? What is my belief about myself? How much do I love myself? What am I putting in my body? These kinds of things. So this is lifestyle, and it does matter. So our day-to-day life is having impact on how psychic, how you can open your inner eye.
Yep.
The next thing I want to share is it's very important to not stay stuck with like just I'm opening. But what am I going to do with this? So when somebody chops a karate board, how to do that successfully is focusing through the board. When people just stop their momentum, their inertia at the board, they break their hand. What makes the board break instead of your hand is that your focus is through the board. So your focus is a foot on the other side of the board. So when people are winning a race, they're focused on, I won the race. I'm already, smiling for the cameras. So this energy of going through to your goal is crucial. When you're thinking about psychicness or opening your inner eye, okay, I'm there, now what? What am I going to do with it? So part of it is the emotion. How do I feel now that I'm open? My inner eye is open. So you want to invoke that feeling.
Okay. So what happens when you open your third eye? Now what? My third eye is open.
Yeah, what am I going to do with it?
Yeah. How do I now proceed?
Right. So let's say someone's there's a difference between wanting the lottery and having the lottery.
Mm-hmm.
Wanting this is just a fantasy. I don't have to go anywhere with that.
Okay.
If you have it, all of a sudden, well, it has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Where's it go? What am I going to do with it? How do I keep everybody from, bothering me? Do I have to move to another country? So it becomes real. When things become real, you have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take action. So if your psychicness goes up 10 times or 100 times, What are you going to do? How are you going to live? What choices are you going to make? Or maybe you want to do something. I'm very Western in the way I think, even though I have a lot of Canary Islander hereditary genetics, but I'm very much a Western person. So there's a lot about do something. Let's make something. Let's build something. This is, just be honest.
Working towards a goal.
Yeah, so I have that mind. And so that's how I think. I'm going to do this. And luckily, I learned quite young, it was much better to be in service and have a higher purpose than just to try to cash in. So my thinking is generally, how can I help? What can I do that will help? But it's still linear. I still think in a linear term, like, well, I'm going to help in this way. I'm going to do this. Let's see where are we on time? It's 4 closest. Oops. Go back. Okay. All right. I can talk infinitely. And that might be fun. But also, I want to know, do you want anything out of this specifically? Is there some subject matter you want to cover? Or do you have questions?
At least for me, I think this has been helpful to kind of frame. It's things that I've known. It's more so going back to those things. Yeah. I think, if possible, what I would love to take away from this is anything that, with your third eye currently open, that we're giving off that you think would be helpful for us in this moment to really continue to go down this path and explore. Or if there's anything that within our energies or whatever that really you think would be helpful for us to continue down this path.
Okay, sure. So I noticed for you, how do you pronounce your last name? Bleckner?
You got it right.
Okay, great. The light's been doing something really interesting, and there's been lots of flares. There's been a lot of light flares, so that's really interesting. And thank you for asking me this. I received right away from you. There's a lot of alien stuff going on. So there's a lot of extraterrestrial stuff, what the Native Americans would call star nations. So I don't think this is your home. I feel like you're very different, and you're here to be different, and maybe explore humanity. There's definitely a message for you about translation. So you might be thinking really differently about stuff, and how do I translate that to where people can understand what I'm saying? Or people say things and you're like, I just don't get it. Like, where are they coming from? And so there's like if you were going to another country, there's a lot of kind of translation. And then as you grow in your psychicness, you want to remember, like, this person might be much younger soul, or their spirit guides or their spirit group might be very different. And are we even talking the same language? Like, when I'm getting color from them, or a sound or energy, what does that mean to them? This is what it means to me, but what does that mean to them? If people are more from that local group, like they tend to incarnate in that part of the universe regularly, they can kind of just like, oh, hello. And it's like, oh, you're wearing red, and that's telling you this. But for you, you have to do this extra thing of, this is what I'm getting from them, but what is that? What does that mean? Am I understanding where they're coming from? Because what does it mean to them? And what does it mean to me? And so for you, you're going to have to do this extra work of, this is what I mean. Is that, did you hear me? Or this is what I'm hearing from you. Did I hear that correctly? In order for you to make relationships with people and even just hear them. I mean, really hear them on a psychic level and see the person with your inner eye, or your third eye. And permission is really powerful. So making the moment more important, like, hey, I really want to see you, or I'm really listening to you, which is going to stop them in their tracks because nobody's listening. If you say, I'm listening, oh, wow, they're paying attention. Then just that little thing is going to make it more important. And then it's going to help you to bridge so that people don't seem so weird or incomprehensible. And so that most of what you're doing, I'm just giving you kind of a little mini message here, just coming out. Most of what you're doing pertaining to the inner eye, you're mostly going over people's heads. They're just like, because their motivation is not your motivation. So they're just like, they're continually trying to lower the vibration of what you're doing to what they would have done. So there's a lot of the energy is dropping. So that's what I'm getting for you with your process of opening your psychic power, your inner eye, is your spirit guides are telling me the energy is dropping, and either go to their level, like talk like them in order to have the psychic moment, or you've got to bring them up. Like, no, we're here. I'm doing this.
And do you think by getting that permission is one of the ways to bring that up? Okay.
Yeah. First of all, you have to stop their neuroses. They're just not paying attention. They're doing this in the conversation. They're not really having a conversation.
Yeah.
So first of all, say like, hey, we're having a conversation right now.
Yeah.
And then secondly, can we have a moment? You know, this is important to me, or I really want to listen to you. And at least I'm not saying they're going to step up, but you're at least giving them an opportunity. Because I don't want you to have this capacity for psychicness and then nothing happened again, because they're not available. Then you're just gonna, it's like reading a newspaper, you're gonna get a lot of stuff from them, but there's no interaction. And I feel for you, it's really important. There's a conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a bulletin board, it's a person. So I think you're gonna wanna like, okay, are we talking? Is something happening here? And so we just have to have techniques for that, which includes witnessing them. Like, I'm paying attention to you.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're gonna be shy.
Yeah.
If you say, I'm looking at you, they're gonna be like, oh my God, let me look at you. But that's okay.
Yeah.
As they feel you're not gonna hurt them or abuse them, they'll get over, especially guys, they'll get over the, oh my God, I'm being looked at, and get a little bit more comfortable.
That's really helpful. I really appreciate you sharing that. One thing that I'll just share with you then is the therapist that I work with helps me connect with my spiritual guides. And he told me to go into like a gem shop and just let my energy attract me to whatever stone I should have. And so I don't know if you can see it, but this is the one. And I forget the name of it, but it's extraterrestrial. And that was what my energy guided me to.
Is it kind of like a greenish, like a
dark green? Yes, okay. Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that either,
but you know what I'm talking about.
It's meteorite, actually.
Yeah, that's what I was reading about.
Yeah, it's meteor. It's cool.
So I wear it every day, and it's kind of my reminder to keep going back to the present, and just my little check-in. So thank you.
Is there something I can do, or that you've picked up, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. So pertaining to the inner eye and your psychic capacity in this lifetime, most people are afraid of you.
Wait, what?
Most people in this lifetime are afraid of you.
Oh, wow.
It's mostly about fear. So you're very powerful, and this lifetime, your spirit guides are specifically telling me to communicate to you in your capacity to open to more and to see more and hear more and feel more. It's to recognize your power.
Okay.
That you're very powerful, and that as people that have the capacity to accomplish a lot, which you have more energy than other people do. And so sometimes people feel like there's just too much. You're too much. There's a lot of like, wow, you come into the room, you've got a big energy, you're bold, you're confident, You don't like people's baloney, so right away you're giving them like, you know, you're, you know, you can very much come in and like, hey, stop your baloney, you know, and you're just doing that with like, you're just doing that with your eyes. You don't have to say anything. You're tough. You're tough. And so, not that you don't have other capacities like to be gentle or soft or anything else, but your general energy is, I am strong. And then people are intimidated. Women are intimidated. And one reason women are intimidated by you is you're very powerful and completely feminine. So you don't try to put on like a male vibration for power. So many women, especially in the business world, is they act like men. There's this kind of like, I'm pantomiming a male vibration. And those women, so when they see you being feminine and powerful, it's very disconcerting. Like, oh, she's not doing what we're doing. So they're immediately either not going to like you or feel intimidated or try to challenge you or something. And it's because you're not trying to be powerful, you are powerful. So people that are trying to be powerful, they're gonna, it's like they're jealous, they're like, who does she think she is or something. So because your power is comfortable.
I
Your
guess I'll
power,
stop trying.
you don't have to try to, you don't have to try to be powerful. They're trying, they're like, they're being bossy and they're having attitude and they're playing games and they're doing all these things which are actually weak because they're trying to convince everyone they're powerful, which means they're not powerful. If you're powerful, you don't even want to convince anyone.
That's true.
So
how do I recognize that power or come into that?
Well, one thing is compassion.
Compassion.
Yeah, so I am very powerful. I have to be conscious of my power in space. So you don't just like knock everybody over.
Yeah.
And then when they're being like, who does she think she is, or trying to challenge you or test you, because what they're going to do is they're going to try to poke you. Like, oh, she's basically, when you come into the room, you're usually the most powerful person in the room.
Wow. That's a lot.
So then right away, what especially women, not guys too, but especially women, they're going to poke. They're going to tease you. They're going to talk. They're going to try to get you off the percent. So you're going to notice, why is this person doing this? Why are they saying that? Or why are they focusing on me? Poke. And so your graciousness in that, like, I witness you. Yeah, that's funny or whatever. Just like, no, you're not bothering me, and I know why you're doing it. And you could also just do that psychically. You could just tell them in your mind, like, I'm not here to hurt you, or I'm not here to challenge you. I don't want to play your game. I'm good. So yeah, go
real
ahead.
quick to that point, if she's doing that with her energy, those that don't have the third eye open, will they still pick up on that even though they aren't in tune with it?
Yeah, they don't know why they know.
Okay.
So people are gonna say, like, I don't like her, or who does she think she is, but they won't know why they know that. You could stop each other and say, how do you know that? And the person's just gonna say, I don't know. I'm picking that up. Right. So in that case, there's that kind of blasting out of energy. That's only going to increase with the psychicness, with the opening of the inner eye, and going in with a little bit more compassion, like, I'm not here to boss anybody around. I'm not trying to challenge you, but I'm also not going to let you, mess around with me. And, we can be friends if you just knock your book. So these are just extra, the two things your spirit guide said are kind of extra phases or extra steps that you have to do in going forward with your power. And the psychicness is, I think it is receiving. We are receiving more, but it's also projecting. It's almost like there's this flashlight going out. So I think it's both. I think we're both receiving and projecting. Now, when somebody's overpowering and it's not your fault, when there's somebody overpowering in the space, people feel it's invasive, and we're going to subconsciously want to withdraw. Like, people are feeling, it's like people that are tall that hunch down. We're reacting to that discomfort. So if we come in and we're powerful, we might be subconsciously like, oh, well, then I'll just stand over here, which is then we're not contributing. It's okay to be powerful. Nothing's wrong. You're not doing anything bad. We're just so programmed by human society, which is really about low self-esteem, that we actually almost feel like we have to apologize for having any quality, having any energy. It's like, oh, sorry, I'll just leave the room because I'm making people uncomfortable. In the future, when we grow up and humanity grows up and we're healed, it's actually okay to have some greatness, have some talent, some ability, some energy. And we don't have to compromise ourselves so much. We don't have to hide.
Okay. I have one quick question.
It's okay to be wonderful. Yes.
I like that.
I wanted to know, the reason why I took this class is so that I could contact and do ancestral work. I was the one that she had called you at Dual Crossroads, remember? And we asked you about the crystals on Saturday. Great. Is there anything I should know about opening up my third eye in response to contacting ancestors and repairing ancestral lineage? I know you taught a class on that, but I missed it. I know you also mentioned more about visualization. I don't know if there's any visualization exercises that you could offer, I guess, or something to keep in my mind to do daily visualization, I guess.
Yeah, my recommendation is to work with your grandparents.
Grandparents.
So you want to visualize them, or you can visualize their name. You could do something very simple, write their 4 names, or even if you don't know one of their names, you could just pick up a name, or certainly you can say father's mother or father's father. So 4 names, write them down, and then that's in your consciousness. I wrote down my grandparents' names, 4 names. Then in the future, you can see in your mind's eye the 4 names. And that's going to be recall. I'm activating through their name vibration. And then the grandparents are really essential. The grandparents are the window to your ancestors. You cannot get to your ancestors except through the grandparents. The grandparents made your parents. They're the conduit. And they don't have to be on the other side. They can be alive. You're talking to the spirit of your grandparents. Okay. You're talking to the spirit of your grandparents. You're visualizing what they look like. But you can also anchor through an object, some people have for example, my father got a camera from his father, and I actually saw it. So it went to my elder sister. I saw it as a child. So there's that favorite object of that object that represents your grandparent. Or sometimes there's just a photo. I have a photo of a grandparent. Now you could also have a representation of your grandparents, like a crystal. You could pick 4 crystals, 1 for each of your grandparents, and that could be your visualization. And the crystals could just stay at home, but you could visualize them when you're in a park. And go ahead.
So your suggestion of connecting through grandparents isn't specific to Ash and what you're picking up from her. It's kind of in general. That's a guiding principle that you have. Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's the physics I work with for the ancestors, is connecting to your grandparents.
Okay.
And getting past any emotion they're in, because it's very important to connect to the spirit of your grandparents. Because people tell me, my grandparent abused me, or my grandparent was alcoholic, or whatever. And that's not where we're going. We're not going into the human failings of your grandparents. We're talking about the energy of your grandparents, not whatever they did or didn't do in their human lifetime. Because that's where people get stuck. My parents did this, my grandparents had this legal battle, this happened, so and so, or so and so, and then pretty soon it's a big mess. And then there's no, you can't go anywhere. So it has nothing to do with what they did as humans. That's not what we're doing. Connecting to your grandparents is the soul of grandparents, which is to some degree affected by their human behavior. But just imagine they were your grandparents before they were born, let alone before you were born or before your parents were born. But I'm talking about the spirit, the essence of your grandparents. And so that helps to get unstuck, because people are immediately trying to tell me about this, that, and that. That's not helpful. That just makes it stuck. But you can heal those things through this connection. And I don't just mean, make it better energetically. People literally change, the person, the troublemaker of the family all of a sudden is making trouble. The person that's addicted, the person that has misfortune start having better fortune. People, real change, real actual change with your parents, with your siblings, with nieces and nephews, with cousins. Things can change when we do the ancestor work. And that's part of visualization. I mean, you can do that using your psychic ability, your inner eye ability. And part of everybody's using their inner eye ability when they do visualization. That's part of it. That's part of the world of the imagination that we had as a little child and then we lose. Everybody that's highly accomplishing in the world is tapping into the world of imagination that children have in great capacity. They've reactivated their, what I call, imaginal power. And then they can see, hear, feel what's possible, or even people think something's impossible, and then they do it. Children live in that imaginary world every day. That's their default. Okay, it's time.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate this.
Well, this is amazing. So I would like to keep in touch with both of you. So one way we can do that is through my website, soulbasedliving.us.
Okay.
soulbasedliving.us, and there's a contact page. And then you can just send me a little note, and then I can contact you. And if you do contact me, I have some free gifts for you, including some audio and some video content, which I'll send back as an email to you.
Fantastic. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're both amazing.
Ditto.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, blessings.
See you later. Bye.
Thanks.